5 aces, 4 heroes, and 1 unforgettable year. Welcome to the Deck of Many Aces Q&A!
To Deck of Many Aces, an actual play podcast made with actual asexuals, and it's Ace Week! I dabbed so hard that I hit my hand. Ouch.
If we made a mistake in the calculations and this is not being released in Ace Week, then sorry, but we're trying to make that happen.
It definitely will be released in Ace Week, it's all good.
Well, we will move Ace Week to be when this is released.
I'm sorry, Ace Week is actually corresponding to our podcast. We're not corresponding to it. It's actually, we invented it.
Whenever we release is Ace Week, which is every other week, so...
Ace Week is every fortnight. Yeah. That is how that works.
Ace Week is every week in this house, baby.
Woo! We
are attracted or not attracted, which means that 50% of people are likely to be ace because it's one thing or the other thing, so that's a half probability.
You so did maths, you know this isn't true.
Is appropriate. Either something exists
oh my
or
God.
It doesn't, and it's 50-50 either way.
That's not... I'm an artist and I know that's wrong.
My favourite thing about this is that Katie was like, oh, why don't we record the Q&A episode first, because then we'll get all of the dumb stuff out of the way and then we can be serious in the actual play episode. And in the actual play episode, we did get through things pretty good.
That's about being serious in the play episode and actually getting through everything.
Yeah, but this is absolute carnage already, and I think it's entirely on brand. What was I going to say? We're a group of people who play Dungeons and Dragons on a bi-weekly basis, who happen to be either aromantic or asexual spectrum. Haha. Nice. If you haven't already,
and some of us are bi,
and some of us are bi.
I said bi, I'm back.
And if you haven't, if you hadn't clued, yeah, absolutely not. This is already just so much carnage. If you hadn't clued into that already, that is who we are. That is what we do. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a Q&A. So I am Ellie, and I use she/her pronouns. And today I will be your QM, your question master, or your quizzical.
Ellie, queer.
Go on.
Millionaire.
Oh, Ellie's a capitalist now.
Really
baby.
Why would you put queer as quizzical when you could just have the letter Q for quizzical instead of the letter Q for queer? Come on.
Oh yeah. That's, to be fair, that's a massive oversight on my part. That was poorly done. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is I'm here to answer your questions. A lot of my intro is about Tosia. I play the party tank, but the fictional character Tosia Atherdale, but now I am playing me, the real question mark person.
The fictional character.
Every time I introduce Tosia as a fictional character, it's a reference to Dungeons and Dads that no one else has picked up on. So
Daddies.
It's just for Nate and Ellie, and that's it.
Hey, I picked up on it. Hee hee. Hee hee hee.
Hello, my name is Chloe. I normally play Raina, but today, here I am in my glorious form to answer your questions. Someone shut me up.
Your glorious form.
Wow.
You can't see me. You don't know what my glorious form is.
Okay.
No one observes your glorious form.
You are.
That's for you and you alone.
This is cursed. This is
This
cursed.
is so cursed. Absolutely the most cursed.
Hello, I am Eiriol, and I use she/they pronouns. I'm not. Yeah, it's really weird. I immediately want to say I'm playing Delphi, and I'm not. I'm just not today.
You're just not.
Yeah,
You did
just not
earlier
the vibe.
today, just not right
Yeah.
now.
yeah.
Just not right now.
Today is just a general sense of time of now.
Katie.
Oh yeah, I'm Katie. I'm a person who exists, probably.
Allegedly.
Debatable,
I
but
may
okay.
or may not use pronouns.
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Basically. Yeah, I
See, I have to stop myself from saying those kinds of comments on the actual podcast because it derails things. But this is all derailing.
This is all derailed. Where are the rails?
There's no rails where we're going,
knows.
baby.
No, hell, there's no rails in space.
Where we're going, we don't need rails.
Yeah,
Can
that's
we
what I was
indulge
thinking.
me and Ellie's narcissism and answer questions about ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
I don't know what
Okay.
most of these questions are, so it's going to be interesting.
This is going to be exciting. So I feel like we can. I mean, I don't know how you'll want to do this. If you want to do like a going around the circle thing, but that puts a lot of pressure on Am to answer the questions first, or if you want to just like answer in whatever way you feel like, which is
We can get
more
buzzers.
fun for you, but more
I'm happy
carnage.
to go first. I mean, my ADHD brain means that I'm immediately going to have something that will come out of my mouth. Whether it will answer the question, who knows? But content will be provided.
Love this. Also, I have seen all of these questions and known them for several weeks. However, this has not made me prepare for them remotely. So this is going to be exciting for me as well.
Yeah, well, when's Ellie
so-
going to answer the questions? At the end? Last in the order?
At the end? Yeah? I feel like as the question master, I feel like asking a question then immediately answering it.
Yeah,
feels
weird vibe.
Weird vibe. It feels very
Well, that's what I
Gilderoy
did when I
Lockhart,
was
and as much
moderating
as like
the RWD Q&A covers eyes.
Wow.
sorry, Al.
Accidentally vague tweeting out.
It's fine. It's fine. It just shows you haven't listened to a Q&A episode, I guess.
I actually have. Because
so
I was
you
thinking
did
about it
know.
earlier and thinking about.
So that
So I
was
just
vague
didn't.
tweeting.
Listen. I just didn't pay attention to who was speaking when. I was very preoccupied with answers.
The good news is I daydream about the PCs constantly, so I probably do have answers for all of these questions ready to go.
This is awesome, and also there's some fun questions about like the characters, and then there's also some fun questions about like the podcast itself, which I'm like really here for. And I've just been locked out of Twitter. I don't want to do that. So. First question comes from podcast favorite Jazz Ayana, who is just wonderful. Jazz, we love you, Jazz. Jazz
Yeah,
is
we
great.
do.
Jazz has been like our fan since day one and is like the ultimate hype person, and I'm very here for it. She has asked, what is a role-playing moment with your character that is either the most memorable or that you're the most proud of?
I think,
Do you want to take this one?
yeah, for me, nothing is ever going to beat critting on Toz's first ever attack. I think that's just like, it just signifies like, I don't know, does it count as a role-playing moment? But it just, for me, it just like really Toz is bad at so many things, but she's really, really good at one thing, and that's beating the ever-loving SH1T out of people.
Can I nominate the bit when Tozio and Iona are talking privately in their opposing bunk beds? As someone listening to that was what came to mind as like, oh wow, that's some really good roleplay. Well done.
Aww.
Bunk bed roleplay. Bunk bed OU is the true fanfic.
you.
Well, it's not even
horrendous.
alternate. It's right there on podcast.
But yeah, those
Wait,
are,
were we
I'd
in
say,
bunk
you.
beds at the time?
Yes.
The bit where did that not happen on bunk beds? The bit where they're
No, it did
talking
happen in
about
bunk beds.
the Ionas.
because you all took the top ones, because the elephant
It did
were like,
happen in
we're
bunk
gonna be on the
beds.
bottom ones.
The Iona is probably going to die in the future or the
Yeah.
past or the time stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that was
Yeah.
one you should be proud of.
Oh, thank you, friend.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that now. I completely blanked.
But yeah, I believe Chloe is next.
I would say
Vegas.
well, I have a not serious one and a serious one. The not serious one is I just like tentacles belong
Love
in
the ocean. Yes.
That was
The
so
best
good.
insult that I will ever come up with on the spot.
So good.
And it's not even really a proper insult. It's just a statement of fact.
I know many people who would
Yeah, disagree
Don't
with
say
you.
it. Don't you say it. They don't. Nope.
No, not on this podcast. God damn it. Not in Ace Week. Not in the holiest
I
of
can't
weeks.
believe you've done this. But yes, no. The serious one is probably the conversation between Raina and Delphi when they were on on watch.
On what?
Because that's one of those ones where like I do this a lot with like all of my characters in that I like imagine like I sort of plan ahead for like conversations that they could have with like the other PCs and they almost never happen because they just don't like the opportunity doesn't arise, you know, which is fine, like, you know, but that one did and I did like and it was just real nice.
That was good.
And good.
And the one with
And
the
I was like,
captain
I
as
felt
well. That was really
It was
good.
very wholesome.
That was good, yeah. But with the one with Delphi, I felt like I had thought about the emotions behind it and stuff enough that I felt secure enough in it to be like to just do it rather than constantly thinking about. But what would Raina think about this, and how would that
Yeah.
make her feel? Because I'd already thought about those things, so I could just do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that one.
Think ahead way
Oh,
more than I do.
Sweet. Yeah, it's the problem with this. There's so many options. It's always been so good. I think that same vein, the jokey one is definitely Delphi falling asleep as a log at various points. Just
Yes.
because that's
Yes.
just that is like the good part of Delphi's character is just being like cool. Done. This is it.
Log.
It's like a pratfall, but with a real person like actually doing it. Oh.
It's
No
very
one's ever
fun.
caught them either.
No, they've full on faith planted every time, and just like and it's completely asleep. Like I don't know what angle they're at when they fall asleep, but it's not low down. It's quite a high angle. But I think the actual one is it's either a toss up between the Raina Delphi chat because that was very very good, or it is. I think the conversation they had with my brain has completely forgotten names. Big
Mithril, the secret one.
what?
You had
With
a
the-
secret
with the
conversation
neighbour?
without us, so I was just guessing.
No, not that one. The one with what's her face?
Bastet?
Bastet.
Bastet.
Yeah.
Yes, the one with Bastet, where they were talking about
Yes.
how Delphi found the thing. That's very like, that's a big part of Delphi's character as well. I think it's those like two things. There's three things really.
I'm really enjoying that every moment that y'all have mentioned so far is in the trailer.
Oh wow!
I think I'm gonna just take some credit for that one and be like,
That's
hats off
'cause
to
you
me.
asked us what are your favourite
Yeah,
moments.
what do you want in the
and we gave you
trailer?
same ones.
This has already
I'd
happened.
forgotten that. Never
Yeah, we
mind.
don't. We didn't need to answer this question. We could have just like been like, go look at the trailer.
And roll
It's there.
trailer.
Yeah.
But I think that's a very it's proof of a very good question, I think, because it's clearly something that we've all thought about and have like opinions about. Katie?
I'm not really sure. I can't remember in quite the same. We haven't like dug into Morgan's backstory in order to have emotional conversations in quite the same way.
If I
quite
could
like
nominate a
anytime-
moment that Morgan's conversation with Delphi about like time and stuff was very cool when we were doing the watch outside the castle.
Which bit was that?
Was
I
it
can't
with
Was
I
that
can't
outside the
remember.
castle?
Yeah.
No, that
It might
wasn't
have been
with Delphi.
after.
That was with.
that was with Bree.
With Bree,
Bree?
okay. I was
Bree.
like, it was with
Oh,
someone
yeah,
who
Bree.
likes nature.
I
That
was
one was
actually-
really good.
I think
I was so confused for a second.
every time someone has tried to compliment Morgan, and she just doesn't know how to react, because that is just me in real life not knowing how Morgan is going to react to that. I'm also bad at responding to compliments, but
I was gonna say, I think it's funny that you mentioned the Bree and Morgan moment, because I would say that's probably been, like, out of the ones that haven't been mentioned yet. Like, I would say something like, I think the Oscar Rayna conversation was, like, great, but obviously very, very premeditated in my head. It was like, and now we are gonna hit this plot beat, and you are gonna get the information that you need as a character. So, like, as much as I really enjoyed it, I think I was quite focused on, like, conveying, like, I think I had, like, beats that I wanted to hit and, like, that kind of stuff. Whereas the conversation between Bree and Morgan was, like, completely improvised, and I remember, Katie, you were like, I don't know if there's anything that they're going to actually be able to talk about. And then I think it was really nice. And again, like, this is maybe self-indulgent, but I think it's quite a funny, like, reflection of our friendship, is in, like, you have a bard who knows absolutely nothing about, like, science and maths, just sat there like, I don't know what you are saying. And then you being like, maths! Science. So I feel like it was quite cute, but also I really liked it. Like, it wasn't something I intended to do when we went into the conversation, and it wasn't, like, super in depth, but the fact that we kind of talked a little bit about, like, Morgan's family and their attitudes towards her from the perspective of an outsider, I really liked that. I really enjoyed that conversation. And it was fun to edit as well.
It was a little bit hard for me, because I've got a very strong feeling about how Morgan's family have impacted her to be the person she is now. But it's not very heavy on, like, the detail. I can't remember her mother's name, but I can remember how Morgan feels about her and what sort of person she is.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Like, she's not going to, like, drop stuff about her family, partially because she doesn't want to talk about it, and partially because I forget. It just, like, informs the choices she makes, I guess, rather than being, like, the details being important. But yeah, I don't know.
But I think it was nice that we kind of got that window into, like, what she, like, why she kind of is the way she is, and then, like, how her worldview is, like, shaped by that. Great question, Jazz. Thank you.
Ellie,
that was juicy.
What's your favourite moment? You've role played every other character.
I maintain, I think Bree and Morgan, because I didn't expect it, and it was like, and it was challenging. Like, it was quite, like, a challenging thing, but I think that the result of it was so nice. And it's also, I got a bit of insight into Bree, who was kind of, like, not a throwaway character, but I'd, like, obviously focused a lot on Tamara and Tamara's relationship with Taz, and you know, all of those kind of dynamics, and Bree was kind of just, like, handy side character who was just there. So it was kind of nice to see that dynamic, which I don't think would have happened if we hadn't had a Night Watch episode. Okay. Next question comes from Phantasmal Farce, which is a group making tabletop role-playing game podcasts, who is based in Wales. So, woo, Wales! And they have asked, this is probably an interesting question for me, but I'd also love to hear all of your input, which is, what made you start the podcast, and what kept the motivation... I really can't read today. What kept the motivation required to hit this milestone?
Oh, I can answer that super easily.
Yeah, go for it.
Ellie's an incredibly talented artist, and every time she asks me to work on a project with her, I say, how long will you let me work with you?
Oh my god!
Seconded.
Yeah, that's like, Ellie's like, hey, do you want to do
I'm sorry, I missed the
I'm
question,
like, absolutely.
but I'm sure that's the answer.
It was like, what was the motivation to start the podcast? I'm like, Ellie asked me to do something, and I said, yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, Ellie asked me to, and I said, yeah, sure. Yeah.
You're incredibly talented, and I will see you.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. This isn't an amazing question, because the answer is just Ellie asked us to. Ellie, what's your answer? Because you're going to have a different one.
Beginning of pandemic, me and my housemate started playing D&D, and I started listening to D&D podcasts as a result of that, because I had, and Am knows this, I had played like maybe 2 or 3 times prior to DMing, and had really absolutely no clue what I was doing.
I remember you telling me quite early on when you were playing how it had taken a while for the group to like all connect the dots at spell level and character
Ellie was
level
like, I'm going to play D&D for the first time, and I would like to play with 8 players, is what she did.
So she's going to DM D&D, and she's going to DM it for 8 players online.
Okay.
I remember it being stated of like, because I joined you guys a little bit later on, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we had absolutely no idea how rules worked until Chloe joined and went." Actually,
Oh, genuinely.
Wait, you're the saviour of that game? Thank God.
Yeah,
Chaotic.
completely. So I started listening to D&D podcasts, and then a couple months into playing this game, I got really passionate about the idea of making a D&D podcast, and obviously I was inspired by Rendezvous with Destiny, and I wanted to make something a bit different, and I have to say, I think credit partially goes to, let me find their username on Twitter.
The real origins of Doma is something.
The real origins of Doma.
Intellectual
I'm not going to be able to find them. Insert future Ellie. Insert name of person here.
Doma is just actually a really elaborate heist for intellectual property.
Yeah. No. So somebody tweeted about running a bi-weekly, funnily enough, a bi-weekly Twitch stream of D&D players that was all by players, and I was like, that's such a cool idea. Why don't we have that for Arrow people? And then once I kind of got stuck on the idea, I couldn't stop thinking about it, to the point where I was like doing very long, like 8 to 10 hour rehearsal days of like a theatre production, coming home and then spending the next 2 hours just like relentlessly researching into podcasts. And at that point I was like, I think I need to do this, because if I don't scratch this itch, it will just be in my mind forever. And so I contacted...
I've got a really good name for a podcast. Should I make it into a podcast?
Yeah! That was the other thing. I was like, I'm so proud of this pun. Yeah, and then I contacted my favourite people and said, do you want to make a podcast?
Look through your Facebook friend list and try to remember which one of them were Ace and Eiriol, and which ones
so
you would be interested in doing it.
To be fair, like I know a lot of aromantic and or asexual people, and I know a lot of people who like to play D&D, but the middle spot, the sweet spot between the two of them and the appropriate like time zone is quite a small net. But I was also like, who would work well? Like, I know
That's right, we were her only choice.
No, this is making it sound bad, but I've got a couple of other people who I
We were the last resort. Yeah.
Screw you guys.
I love this. The people that came before us, and
I love that you were all like, we did this because Ellie asked us to, and I'm here like, and I had no choice. No, not that at all. I definitely had like, I think at least half a dozen, maybe 8 people that I was considering, but I was like, who would work best on a podcast and who would work best with each other, despite the fact that you mostly did not know each other. And I was like, you all would be very cool and very good at it. And yeah, to be honest, I was like
I thought I was just like the only other person you knew after you got through people who were like entertainment people.
I like kind of wanted to have like 4 people in case there were, I like genuinely all of my imposter syndrome coming through of like, in case someone quits in like 2 months and doesn't want to be here anymore, at least we'll then have a functioning party.
You are really overestimating how many fun things everyone has to do during a pandemic.
It was
That's why I've done this and why I've stuck it out. It's fun.
We say it's because Elliott wanted us to. It was something to do at any point.
Something to
fun,
do.
That's why.
But yeah, I think it probably that pretty much covers it. And also, yeah, I continued. We could easily quit at any point, but I really love doing it. I really like hanging out with all of you and
we can quit.
watching. Please don't! No!
Eiriol is actually a warlock and Elliott is her patron.
If I wanted to, I would just leave the Discord chat and
No!
I mean, if everything
don't
goes to
do
plan,
it.
I'm going to be taking a little break from your airwaves on this feed in a short while, depending on what gets uploaded.
yeah.
That's true.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is-
We
that is
can
very
we
true.
can take breaks whenever we want, and I am doing that.
Oh yeah, we
That's
can
not
take
a-
breaks.
That's not a getting out of Doma thing. That's not
Oh,
being
no,
able to
absolutely
make one
not.
particular little bit.
Yeah,
It's an am being busy thing.
I
you're
was
never
busy.
getting rid of me.
And
Are we allowed to talk about that now? In brief.
I think in brief terms.
We're doing a little one shot. It's one shot, but it's going to be like
A
6
little-
episodes.
As a
a little
six
one
shot.
shot as a treat.
As a treat.
Iriel's DMing it because she's amazing and has good ideas.
Yeah!
Um,
And we have a secret special guest who we won't reveal until it comes out.
Okay, we're keeping that part secret.
And will tragically not be in it because she was not available. But
I'll give you a hint. It's Matt Mercer. We got Matt Mercer.
Yeah!
We did it, folks.
You got Griffin McElroy. Stop
Yeah.
being pretending.
We got Griffin McElroy and Matt Mercer. They're playing
Excuse me.
one character together.
Okay, first of all, my ego could not take someone who was like in a completely different sphere of voice acting to me being
you're
on my
talking about-
podcast. I
yeah,
would be
Matt
so
Mercer is
insecure. I would be so insecure
most
about
successful Twitch channel and D&D podcast ever.
of all time. And also Griffin McElroy.
We just got featured in Variety.
Ooh, and also Griffin McElroy would be my competition for bad accents, and I can't let that happen either. So
You're much better at accents than
Unfortunately,
him.
no.
No offense to him, but some of his
Sorry,
accents.
we're too good for you, Matt Mercer and
Yeah.
Griffin McElroy is what you're saying.
His voice acting is interesting, not realistic.
yeah, let's put it
Cool.
like that.
Let's-
Shall we move on to the next question? This is one of my absolute favourite questions. It's from Piers, who is a friend. For all of the players, what is your favourite / weirdest / best sound Ellie has made while DMing?
Ooh.
Well, okay,
is
so
a tough-
Ellie, when Ellie
Oh, I
laughs, she makes this
Yeah,
kind
that was
of,
literally. I was going to say the snort. The snort
snorting
laugh is my
noise
favorite
sometimes.
noise that
Yeah,
Ellie
it's not
makes.
a really good choice.
Podcast
that's my
consensus
most
is it the
When you
snort
get Ellie
noise?
to snort, you know you've done well.
Yeah. It's like getting a little gold star from teacher
mean-
and shenanigans.
I mean, a little peek behind the curtain here, but we don't actually hear a lot of what the noises Ellie
Yeah.
makes because
Yeah.
her voice is pitched too high for Discord.
Yeah, we talk to each other on Discord, so we can't always hear everything, and then we just only get it like on the mics for. I guess Chloe gets most of it in post.
I mean, Ellie cleans it up before it goes to
Yeah,
Chloe.
I actually like this is probably just
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
This is probably just more of a like proximity thing than like my favorite thing. But in the last episode that I edited, so 24, there's a bit where like Ellie does a huge like melodramatic evil laugh, and it really made me laugh.
It's like a full-on evil cackle.
Oh.
And it's just done well enough that I'm like, I don't think she's putting this on. I think that's just coming out. Like,
I have a variety of laughs, but witch cackle is definitely one of them. This is an excellent question.
Yeah, general
Thank
consensus.
you for
I
this.
think like that's our group answer is the snort laugh. Is our
Yeah.
answer.
This snort laugh.
Next question.
I love
Keep
this
them coming.
consensus. Next question. This is from Emily Millward, and her question is: if you had to be someone else's character, who would you choose and why?
See, I mean, like, I don't want to be anyone because I don't like playing casters, and I mean, like, I guess if I had to pick someone, I would probably.
I thought you say I don't like any of your characters.
No, I'm bad at when I play a video game. I hoard all my items because I'm like, I'm gonna need them later, and then I never end up using them, and that's exactly how I play casters with spell slots. So I think I would probably,
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd probably play Delphi, just because she only has 2 spell slots and then can do other stuff. So I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
well, that's the one I'd probably be most adept at, and also like I played a warlock for like once for a single session, so I don't think I've really ever played a warlock, so I'd be really interested before, and I've played a wizard and a bard in previous games for a longer period of time. So I probably Delphi. Ideally, I'd like to play Tamara because I really want to play an artificer, but because I get really into the
I
rules.
love artificers.
Yeah, I love playing melee classes because I can like stack rules and do some crazy stuff, which I could also do with an artificer, which is why every time I've started a new game and I've been like, haha, can I play an artificer? Every GM who knows my chaotic playstyle has categorically gone, can you do something else maybe?
Hey, if Toddy wants to multi-class.
So yeah, I'd like to play an artificer, so
would be great.
I have ideas for Todd's multi-classing and it's not artificer. Don't you worry.
Cleric?
Ooh,
I know the plans.
Oh,
I don't know who I'd
yeah.
rather be, but like conversely to I hate playing melee characters. So I guess it wouldn't be Toz. I can deal with rogue and that's about it. But I don't know. I'm like both. See, the way I'm looking at this question is like, who would I be most interested to know the like secret backstory of? And both Morgan and Delphi have secret backstories that are interesting.
Yeah. Although it's weird, Delphi doesn't actually have that much of a secret backstory that I know out of character.
Yeah.
There are secret things that I don't think you know, but
Morgan doesn't really have
I
a
think-
tragic backstory either. She just has a trauma.
Yep.
I think the thing that might swing it, like, I've got two things. I've got either I want to be Delphi because Eiriol's created such an interesting like society and like race and everything, and I just want to know all the good lore. But also Morgan can fly.
yeah, that's
And
a
that's
good
like
shout.
every time someone's like, "What superhero power would you have?" and I'm like, "There's so many like cool, interesting answers." And like
Flying
in
is just
reality,
a
I'd probably
different
pick
kind
something
of
else. But my
exercise.
immediate instinct is always fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
flight is awesome.
So I might go with Morgan based on that.
Yeah, I have no idea. Because yeah, I was thinking of it. I love that Anne was like, "What is the mechanical difference going to be?"
But like that's why
'cause
I
was,
always
like,
played
very much
melee
like,
melee classes because like that's how my brain works.
It's fair. I have no idea. I think Rayna's definitely got the most mysterious backstory that like they don't know in character, but I feel like Chloe knows out of character.
Chloe
But
knows. I can
also be
see it in
wrong
her
about that.
eyes.
No comment.
Yeah.
You can't see my eyes.
It's a metaphor.
You can see it in your fake imaginary eyes. Your Discord eyes. Yeah, you definitely have the most interesting like secret backstory. Because like, what happened on that island? What's with that fae creature? What's going on, baby? But yeah, mechanically, I've never actually played a wizard. I've never played a bard either, or a fighter.
Don't. A wizard is not worth it. I've played
That
one
narrows
before.
it
I can
down.
tell you right now.
Hey, wizards are
Sorry,
good.
Katie.
No, I think I might want to play a wizard. They've got some fun lots. They're a mix. They're very much like they're like a sorcerer, but more spells than a sorcerer even has.
We recently did a Q&A episode for RWD, plug, and we got asked this question of like what classes our PCs would be, and Graham said he would pick a wizard because he likes making D&D difficult for himself, and I think that's the best answer, in my experience, of what playing a wizard is like.
Oh my god.
Yep.
But I've played a sorcerer as like my main character, and that was just horrendous amounts of spells. Like if you ever want to play a spellcaster and not have to worry about spell slots, play a sorcerer because you cannot go through all your spell slots in a combat. It's physically impossible. The amount of like because it's like one spell slot per turn is like, and you've got like 13 spell slots. It's ridiculous.
I mean, that goes for a lot of casters, I think, at high level, but...
Yeah, this was at level 5 or something
Oh, really?
ridiculous. They have ridiculous
Oh yeah,
amounts of spell
you can
slots.
turn sorcery points into spell slots as well, can't you?
Even outside
Oh,
of that,
God.
they have a ridiculous amount of spell slots.
Don't they have
It's
the same
horrendous.
number as every other caster?
No, they have a lot more.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know the
I did
exact
not know
numbers,
that.
but it's a lot more. Like because they have like 5 level 1 spell slots and stuff. They just have huge amounts of spell slots, and you never get to use all of them. It's a lot, but it's also very fun. Katie,
So you get more cantrips as well. Neatly enough, I think my answer is probably Todsia because she's got a very cool like personality and backstory and lots of stuff there that's very good. And also, every single time I've ever been in a campaign with a battle master, every time a battle master has done anything in a battle, I'd been like, God, battle masters are so cool. I want to play a battle master. Like, I cannot design melee characters because you'd think, oh, melee characters, it's easier. No, it's easier to make a kind of mediocre melee character, but if you want one that's actually even vaguely effective, you need to like do all sorts of kind of optimizing with feats, and you have to know how to make a weapon attack, which I basically don't, and you have to remember whether a thing counts as a big weapon or for great weapon fighting or not, and like remember to take away your AC and stuff. So if somebody handed me a battle master that someone else had designed, like Tosia, I think that'd be a lot easier. I just can't make one myself without.
This does sound like we can now do the Freaky Friday. And
I think what we could take away is Katie.
switch everyone around.
Katie and I are endlessly intimidated by one another's D&D ability, which I think is very wholesome vibes.
One time I tried to stat up a multi-class paladin rogue thing, and I had so many tabs
That's
open
such
trying
a
to figure out what
good
was the best way of
build.
doing it. Yeah, dex based, but like I don't know, swashbuckler obviously, but
Yeah. That's a great
oh
build.
god, it was the maths are so complicated.
Wait, can you smite and sneak attack the same thing?
I think you can. I can't.
gosh,
you can, 'cause they're both special
but I think
actions.
that's half of the like appeal.
Because smite's bonus action, and also like even if it wasn't, you can do minute-long smites.
Oh my gosh.
They as in like you have a smite that's on your weapon for a minute, and until you hit something succeed on the attack, it lasts. So you can just like it's busted.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But
I think you can also stack 2 smites. You can stack the paladin smite and one of the spell smites, and it just gets busted real fast.
It does.
But yeah, moral of the story is I don't know how to make a melee character, but they seem fun to play.
I think, oh god, this is really hard, and I hate that you've kind of all, I sat there like, tactically I can choose whoever doesn't get picked, and then you all picked each other, and now I'm like, dang
Who's
it!
your favourite, Mum?
Well, that's...
Which of your
I can't
Bring back
NPCs?
calling you mummy.
Which of your NPCs would you run at a campaign?
Which of your NPCs would you most like to play?
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
I
okay.
really so I as you may have been able to tell, I really enjoy artificers, and I discovered that through making these NPCs. I loved Tamara, and I also think Kaelin was sort of amazing and broken.
Kaelin was an artificer. Okay.
Kaelin and Glau were both artificers, and I remember there was a sort of small sound of indignation, or not indignation, of confusion from Chloe 2 episodes ago when the robot was able to cast heat metal but had like 7 HP, and it's because artificers can basically make like a homunculus.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've listened to season 2 of NADPod.
Hey, I don't know anything about artificers. You can't blame me.
But yeah, I think.
I thought you just homebrewed it, but
Oh no! So it's kind of a homebrew because it's a robot, not like a homunculus. And it's probably bigger than a homunculus would have been. But you can cast a spell as a bonus action that is usually takes an action, and then your homunculus just does it. And I'm like, that's broken.
That's
I love
so
that,
broken. What?
isn't it?
Yeah, wild.
So yeah, I love artificers. It is the TLDR of this, and usually I build worlds or I'm in worlds that they don't necessarily suit, but this world I think really lends itself to them. And then out of the 4 of you, I think I don't know, like, I don't want to say for backstory because I've got everyone's, like, backstory cards, and so I'm like,
of course I don't have a favourite child. I love you all
genuinely,
equally.
like, I think I kind of mirror all of the all of the responses you gave as kind of exactly how I feel about it, in that, like, I've never played a melee caster or a wizard because they both seem overly complicated, and I would want someone else to build them
Never played a
for
melee
me.
caster or wizard.
A melee character or a wizard. God damn it.
Oh, okay.
I am
I
asleep.
was trying to figure that out for a minute. I was like, really?
I've not played anyone. I
I
am
would assume
forever
melee
DM.
caster meant like a paladin or bard.
Yeah.
mixed.
Someone that does melee stuff, but is also a caster.
And
I was
then
trying to figure out who she meant.
Yeah,
I think Raina's got a lot of backstory juice that I am aware of, and
Horrible way to say
Yeah,
that.
we've got to squeeze the juice out of Raina.
backstory juice. Lol. And Delphi as well, like the world that you have created, and also like I know all of your secrets, even the
Yeah,
secrets that
see-
you don't know, and that is really exciting to me as well. So like,
Hey, do you
there's a
know
lot
why
going
Raina
on.
hates pirates? Because I don't.
No, no, that's
Yeah,
up to
something
you, buddy.
happened. Don't know what it was. Something happened though.
Is this something Ellie told you, or just like you came up with? And
No, just on the spot once, I was like, I really hate pirates, and
Hate
it's
pirates.
just become a thing.
Yeah.
Teehee.
I think those kind of things that just kind of emerge during the roleplay are very good, though. Like
Yeah,
little character
I agree.
notes. Maybe it doesn't have to be a tragic backstory. Maybe it's just like, on principle, she doesn't approve.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. That was a very, very good question. Next question comes from a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Becky.
Everyone's giggling on the thing.
This is,
Hello.
that was so disorientating.
She cannot. Do you want to put these on?
Hi.
Hey, bestie.
Oh my god.
Hello.
Oh, this is not breaking COVID regulations because I don't think it's. I think it's not.
It wouldn't be
Also,
breaking
there are
COVID
currently no
regulations
COVID
anyway,
regulations
Katie.
in the country.
Yeah.
What COVID
Haha, yeah.
regulations?
But they are. I think it's not against podcast privacy to say that is Ellie's roommate.
Who did the amazing art of our characters?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, who is amazing, and I literally don't think I've ever talked to you.
same.
Hello.
Becky, before you ask your question, I want to say thank you for my item. It's very cool and I love it very much.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
I think this might be released before that, so you might have to cut that out.
No, it's cool. You didn't say what it is, just that
I
it's
can't
there.
hear what's going on, but I think you're all simping for Becky, and I'm kind of here for it. But she has a question.
Give us your question.
Okay, my question for you all is, if your PC was a baked good, what baked good
Oh,
would
this
they
is
be?
question,
So
baby.
good.
This is the
is
most
a
Becky
very
question in the
good
world.
question. I think in my it would be fun if Toz was lemon biscuits, but she's not. Is the thing. But I think she would be I think she'd be like banana bread.
Good.
Oh, I love that take.
You know what I mean? Like it's warm and like comforting and sweet. It like doesn't help that like my mum always makes banana bread out of all bananas, so it's like very much a comfort thing I associate with being a little kid. But it's
Banana bread is very good. With
Yeah.
chocolate chips.
no, she doesn't make it with chocolate
Chocolate
chips.
chip banana bread is good.
But it's like a very functional, practical kind of baked good, which I think very much fits with who Toz is as a person, in that like it can be had for breakfast rather than a treat, and it's to use up like old fruit. So that's my answer.
Good
I
answer.
think Raina would be a donut, but specifically a ring donut with pink icing and rainbow sprinkles.
Very good. yes.
Yes.
Because it's a very solid, like, safe base. You're like, yeah, I know what this is, but also it's loud and like kind of different on the top. Or maybe she'd be like some kind of filled donut, because you don't know what's on the inside.
blood.
It's like
Is it warlock juice?
Jam.
It's filled with
That's what
I'm
the
just trying to
backstory
think-
juice is.
because I was trying to think of something that was like a solid base, but then like had something unpredictable about it. So
Fun and
donut
fancy.
was kind of where I came up with that. Yeah, I could probably come up with something slightly better if I thought through it, but I like that. I like that donut. There we go. I'll stop rambling now.
Hell yes.
I think Delphi would be like the plaited bread loaves you get, but with like I don't know how exactly you do it. I'm trying to think, but like pesto as part of it. Like you can cook pesto into bread, and it's absolutely lovely. But that as a plaited loaf, I think is the Delphi vibe.
Because she's a plant.
What? Okay.
Is it my turn next?
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on, Katie.
I think Morgan is a pain au chocolat
All very
Very
good.
fancy.
because it's kind of squishy and delicate and takes a lot of effort to put together. It's kind of a bit over the top to like fold all the layers together.
Yeah.
And very crumbly and kind of falls apart if you just kind of
It's
put it on.
French, is what you're saying.
And it's kind of fancy, and if you like and if you say pain au chocolat, it's kind of like saying French things correctly is just kind of like a posh people thing.
Okay, atted.
Oh, it is. Did you never get teased for being kind of posh sounding because you like said a French thing correctly at school?
I've never
No.
not been teased for being posh sounding, so yes.
I think standards for posh sounding is different in South Wales to in England, but
Oh boy, is it.
yeah. Anyway,
I
what was
sound
saying?
posh
Yeah,
in
pain au
both.
chocolat. Also, they're delicious.
Yes.
They are good.
And I could eat so many of them. That's not.
That has some
Morgan.
implications for Morgan, but okay. I have one answer. Tamara is a Welsh cake.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's good. Solid.
Love it.
Of course she is.
You're so you.
Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby!
How did I not see that one coming?
I genuinely, as soon as you said it, I was like ruminating on it, and I was like, ha 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 ha, ha. But also, like, I think she's quite like. So when I say simple, I don't mean like thick. I mean like, she.
Interesting.
She is what she's like. It does what she says on the tin. You know, she's like, she gets the job done. But she's nice and she's kind of unassuming, but she's got like little bits of like, I guess, like cinnamon in her, you know? She's like a little bit,
Oh, fancy.
she's like a little
Welsh
bit full of
cake.
surprises.
My God.
Are they chocolate chips or are they raisins?
They're
We
raisins.
don't know.
'Cause it's
We'll
a
have
Welsh
to find
cake and we don't have chocolate and Welsh.
Yeah, it's never been chocolate
Yeah.
chips, Webster.
I know.
Ellie makes chocolate chip ones for me.
But you
Yeah.
give them to kids and they think that they're chocolate chips and then they're like, what is this? This is a raisin. You deceived me.
But tell me that there isn't a better metaphor for when Tamara came up to you incredibly regally and then told you that you would have to ride on 2 horses because she forgot chariots existed.
Yes.
That, as a metaphor of thinking something's chocolate chips and then it's actually raisins, is
Yep.
perfect. Fight me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky, for that
Next
question.
Thank you,
That was
Becky.
amazing.
Good question.
Thank you,
I'm
Becky.
coming back. Hello, I can
Bye,
hear you all now.
guys. Bye.
Bye, Becky. We have a bunch of questions from Phil. I'll pick one and then maybe we'll circle back around to some more. They're kind of on a similar note. Where did you get the inspiration for various homebrewed elements of the world Doma is set in? And what inspired the players to create and develop the characters they're piloting? So yeah, I think we can meld these into one because it's kind of it's framed as a sort of, I guess, a GM player's question, but I think because you're helped with the world building and the world creation, you'll be able to give your input on the world and the homebrewed elements of the world as well, which is great.
Have we explained how we made the world?
I think
I think we did in
mentioned,
the first session.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned
played
it
Dawn
in
of Worlds.
passing, but we
That's
played
how we
Dawn of
did it,
Worlds.
yes.
Yeah, there's a game called Dawn of Worlds, which is one you can use to build worlds.
And we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also, like, specifically,
Altogether.
we all took a big part in building the races that we ended up playing. Like, I know I did
Yes.
Yeah.
for the Growth Folk, obviously, but I think everyone chose a race that they specifically put in the world.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we did that because we were already thinking about having those as our characters and wanted to make sure that
They were in the world, yeah, that was it.
their species were present.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eiriol's put in lots and lots of
No,
work
actually,
on the...
mine was the opposite way round. If I made it and then I was like, I've made this, I want to play it.
I don't know really about the world building because, like, I kind of very much followed suit with that, and I was like, I think it would be interesting if this happened. Eyes closed, head first, as my usual process goes.
Didn't you build an entire city political structure?
I did that after we had the city.
Okay, fair.
But it's because Toz was coming from a noble background, I was like, I would know how all of these things work, and I basically would create the character and then work backwards as to why she's in the situation that she's in. But in terms of character, I wanted to play in a game for my how old am I? My 22nd birthday, when we were all inside, me and some of my friends played D&D, and my boyfriend, friend of the podcast, played a Loxodon rogue, and I thought all those like racial traits were very interesting and cool, and I was like, I want to play a Loxodon, and I had wanted to play a Battlemaster forever and ever and ever, because I'm kind of like, instead of playing all the classes, I'm just working my way through all the martial melee classes, the subclasses. I'm like, cool, I've played a champion, I've played an Eldritch Knight, so now it's time to play a Battlemaster. Yeah, I mean, and then, like, for Toz's character backstory, it was very reactionary, because in RWD, Rendezvous of Destiny, my character is very, like, chill and laid back and outspoken, and she's, like, the face of the party, and I was like, I want to do the opposite. And also, as a plus-size person, I realised I'd never played a plus-size character, so I was like, if anyone ever does fan art, firstly, God bless you, secondly, Toz is fat. That's very important to me and part of her character. And that was another thing that I wanted to bring to her. And I think I've talked for like 5 minutes now, so I'm going to let someone else have a go.
We love to hear it.
We do.
Chloe?
In terms of like the world building, when we were doing the Dawn of Worlds, I was kind of most interested in just like making all the. I didn't think about anything too in depth because I like was trying to make everything like a huge like diversity of stuff. But obviously, like Katie said, I was like, I'm gonna have Tabaxi because I want, and I wanted Tabaxi and Genasi because those were the two races that I was thinking of. And I remember saying immediately afterwards, now after the context that I've put these two races in, I don't think I want to play either of them. And I very briefly considered playing a dwarf, and then I was like, nah, Raina's Tabaxi. But like in terms of Raina, other than I wanted to play a bard, probably because it's just I'd never done one before, and it's the most similar to what I am in real life.
It suits you so well.
So I wanted to play. I kind of thought, oh, if this is like the podcast one, like this is like the big one, if that makes sense. Like it's the one that's going out into the world. So I was like, let's do something that I can do well in real life because logic, that makes sense. But I didn't really have an awful lot kind of planned for Raina before I actually like put her together and everything. I never planned to have her so tragic, as Ellie constantly reminds me, because I said to her, I'm going to make a happy character because all of my characters are full of regret and tragedy, whether I put it in the backstory or not, they just end up there, which is fine. Like that's what I enjoy playing, and that's like completely fine. But I was like, no, I'm gonna break the mold, and then I absolutely did not. But the difference, like with Raina, is I guess I was thinking about this earlier. There were two things that I thought of earlier that were kind of that was it. The two things that are kind of like going like to. This is very rambly. I apologize. The two things I kind of like explore with Raina is like curiosity and innocence. So whilst she's like had a lot of like bad things happen, she's not jaded by it. She's still very young, you know, and she's still very curious about the world and all of this.
God, isn't she like 18?
She's
19.
19.
19.
Technically,
Yeah.
she's
19,
89.
that makes that so much of a difference.
I also specifically made her like to be not only like working class but have like has experienced poverty like as a child because of the context in which she put the Tabaxi, and that I was the only person to use the combat mechanics in Dawn of Worlds. Nobody wanted to attack each other, and I was like, oh, Tabaxi gonna go, they're just gonna be ruthless capitalists, they're gonna be terrible. And that's why I didn't want to play a Tabaxi, because of the context I put it in. So I created a Tabaxi that I could still kind of, I didn't have to go against. Yeah, I could still like her. I didn't have to like go against what I wanted to play. Because obviously, like, just because you're from a certain city doesn't mean you have the same views as absolutely everyone in the city.
Well, a society of ruthless capitalists is at least partially bad because of how it treats its own people. Like
exactly. And I don't know why I chose for her to be a sailor.
It's a good context for that.
I don't know.
Well, we did explicitly write in during Dawn of Worlds about the Tabaxi being a big sailing culture.
That was it.
Yes,
this makes sense.
It seems like if you're looking for a trade for character Tabaxi to have, then that is a good choice. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's because I wanted to find something that was. I didn't want her to be an entertainer or anything like that because of the context of like the bard powers. I wanted them to be completely new, so I was like, what's completely different and that makes sense in the context of this city that we've made? And it's like sailor.
I created the Growfolk role playing the Dawn of the World and didn't come up with they were very bare when I first thought of it, and very much playing on the things of the treants and stuff like that.
Well, they mostly a bunch of jokes about the phrase spicy forest, because as soon as someone said the phrase spicy forest, we all couldn't stop.
Yes.
I think everyone as listeners needs to know that there are a lot of places in this world that we named as placeholder names, and one of us was going to come up with a better name, and then nobody did.
Like Catgirl City.
Like Catgirl City.
I will have you know that it was always going to be Spicy Forest and stay as Spicy Forest. This is the vibe we are going for.
But I think basically what happened is I decided to play Delphi, and then I was like, what would this kind of place look like? What is it like? And how did it fit within the world? Because it was I couldn't play off I didn't want to play off the Trient style thing that much, and so I had to come up with all of this stuff. Well, I didn't have to. I decided to, and so then I started building up this thing.
You came up with so much stuff. So much.
When I say came up with, I spent a month figuring out the physiology of Growfolk. I talked with my friend.
You have to population.
Oh yeah, I do have a population demographic graph because I wanted to figure out what the birth rate of them was.
She made Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah,
for this.
I love that kind of stuff. But then I think Delphi was very much a character that is. I didn't want to play a character that was had some big traumatic event happen to them, and then became an adventurer because of it. I wanted to play a character that was very just wasn't nothing big happened, but just wasn't wildly accepted into their background and stuff. And and then I was like, cool, this is how I'm going to play this, and this is what they do, and why they're an adventurer, and how they came to do all this stuff. And then I decided to play a warlock because it really fits well in that, just kind of semi-shunned by society. They were never thrown out, but they were also never properly accepted. And there's a very good character from another podcast where I was like, I love this character. I would love to play a character even vaguely similar to them, but also have very different things to them. And then I was thinking about. I think this is kind of backstory stuff, so I'm not going to talk about it. But just things about. Warlocky things, warlocky things.
Oh yeah, we had some very interesting conversations about the nature of things.
Yeah, I think to a large extent all of that stuff is rubbish, basically, just random stuff I came up with. But I was enjoying. I think that's what a lot of warlock stuff is, and I really enjoy that thing of esoteric rubbish and just. The random things that you come up with when you're thinking of that, and eldritch gods and stuff that are just ridiculous in every way. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think there's other stuff about Delphi, but some of it is backstory stuff, and I don't want to spoil it for listeners, so it will be left unsaid. Although if you want to know more about Growfolk, I need to collate it, but I have so much information about them. It's ridiculous.
Maybe post our special upcoming six shot.
Yes, that's actually a really good idea.
I can reveal
Katie?
Weird information.
Yeah. Morgan. So what's the question again?
I was going to say hang on, I've lost it. So here it is. It's where did you get the inspiration for various homebrewed elements, and what inspired the players to create and develop the characters they're piloting?
Okay, so with Morgan, honestly, I can't remember it. the kind of like specific setting of like not the Regency period, but the like sort of Regency period that you get in modern day like romance novels and stuff, and fantasy setting kind of inspired by that period, with the like very uptight manners and the reputations and the like children being sent to, I don't know, just that kind of like Regency or faux Regency vibe, which is what we've got going on for Antibra, was kind of one of the things I was feeling for Morgan. I wanted to do a wizard because I haven't actually played a wizard before, and the chronomancy subclass looked really cool. And what else was I thinking for Morgan? She was a tiefling because I was like, why not do a tiefling?
Yeah.
I've got a whole list here. I'm looking at my like original character notes, and I've got a whole list of different virtue names I was thinking to give her as a name. There's tranquility on here, which would have been funny. Silence, which would also have been funny. Clarity.
Yeah.
Morgan's Silent Aldridge. Can you imagine? Tranquility kind of work. Tranquility and serenity are kind of the same meaning, but that didn't pan out, did it? Other than that,
but I think that's one of my favourite thing about virtue names.
They're so good.
Originally, she was gonna have a first level in artificing, but I decided not to do that for reasons I can't remember. But because I mean, she kind of like Ellie said earlier, like artificing is really part of the vibe of this world a lot, so that would have been cool. Other than that, I wanted to do. I know it's a cliche, but awful wizard academics is so good. It's such a good vibe. Awful, horrible academics, like in tall buildings wearing tweed. Oh my god, I hate it. It's amazing.
Excellent vibes.
And what about you, Ellie?
I'm trying to think of ways to answer this because there's just so much. I think original inspiration was very Night Vale based, or like I think I originally went down. So I'm looking through the very first notes that I made, and it was just slightly uncanny valley, things being ever so slightly wrong, glitchy, industrial in a slightly steampunk way, all that kind of stuff. And then I remember like right at the beginning I sent out like a little kind of questionnaire of like and I asked you all to kind of list 3 sort of sources of media that you thought were like really interesting and that you'd kind of like to emulate, and why. And I remember there was like stuff that I've listened to and watched and read, like Doctor Who and Taz Balance and Midst, but then there was
is Midst where all the crystal stuff came from?
I think Midst was part of where all the crystal stuff came from, and also
God, I need to listen to season 2.
I think the Vega Camarius plotline vaguely came from there's an episode in Midst where someone's being held hostage, and there's a kind of a narrative switch where you think one thing because you've made an assumption about a kidnapper-kidnappee relationship, and then it's revealed to be slightly different. And I think that very much inspired me with Vega Camarius and Iona.
I should mention here, Midst is a podcast called Midst by
Third Person Productions.
I'm Googling now.
Third Person Productions, I think. They follow us.
It's just Midst podcast, and it's very good, although I would put a big old trigger warning on it for police brutality and violence and everyone kind of being a terrible person. But it's an amazing podcast, and you should listen to it. Also, trigger warning for capitalism.
Yes. So yeah, I think that was a lot of it, and I'm looking through. I've got a private Pinterest mood board that I made as well, and a lot of it is like screen caps from Doctor Who, screen caps from some illustration of Night Vale and Taz Balance, lots of tarot stuff.
The Adventure Zone Balance and Welcome to Night Vale, both podcasts.
We don't need to plug these.
Of those things.
We don't need to promo them.
They don't need any advertisement from us.
They might not. Someone might not know what they are.
I believe in their power to use Google.
Yes, I think yes. I think so there's that kind of stuff, and then I'm trying to think what else. What else I'm in terms of the setting. Some of my inspiration for places was, I think the easiest way to be creative is to get two disparate things that are not usually connected and connect them. And I've done that with a lot of the locations where they are a mix of two different places that I'm kind of familiar with. So I think I said that Catgirl City is a mix of Port Victoria / Johannesburg, and also a little bit of Cardiff Bay, because it's got that kind of reverted port energy. But there's stuff like that. I think I really enjoyed making places.
I think we said before, probably not on podcast, but I think it's been talked about a little bit on Twitter, that Antibro vibe, which we've never been to on podcast, is kind of mix of Oxford and Barcelona.
Yes. That's Braw, I think. Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, Braw.
I've just messaged Elliott about it, but I didn't want to forget. I also have ideas about what kind of melded city Guy Maris is which is where Toz is from.
Ooh, very cool. Braw is kind of a mix of Oxford, Cambridge. Also, because I was thinking in terms of immigration.
It's that Antibro is Amsterdam and Barcelona, and then Braw is more Oxford, Cambridgey, northerny.
Yeah, and by Barcelona, I think really the Gaudian element of
the colours.
Yeah, the colours and the mosaic and all that kind of stuff. Just because I really love that. I hope that answers that question. And in terms of species, you all know I use an elf and an orc had a baby because I love it and I swear by it. It's my own religious text in terms of creating cool and interesting cultures. But a lot of the creativity of this world, I think, is down to you guys. Genuinely, I think my creativity works best when I have other people to bounce ideas off of. And
I think that goes for everybody, I have to say.
Yeah, but there are some people who can, literally just sit down and write a novel and do it in their own company, and I don't think I'm actually that kind of person. So the fact it's such a tiny thing, but the fact that Gaia Maris is where Tozia is from, and it's got a nomadic culture, and that you decided that it was going to be based off of sort of Scottish culture, influenced me to basically then make the other nomadic group, which is the half gnomes and the halflings, another Celtic sort of subset, which is
that's very
Welsh, and then the other subset of gnomes who are not nomadic are Irish, and my bad approximation of an Irish accent. So
it's not a one-on-one culture translation, but it is vibes.
Oh yeah, completely. It's inspiration rather than any attempt at appropriation at all.
Yeah.
I think this is probably very comprehensively answered that question. Thank you, Phil. That's a very good question.
Also, she likes playing short characters.
Yeah, that's also Ellie.
Yeah. Next question is from the lovely Nathan at Nate Scott Jones.
Nate, we love you.
What the first question that he asked has already kind of been answered, which is, can you tell us about how this wonderful podcast came about? Thank you for calling us wonderful. I appreciate that. I think that's already been answered. So the second question is, if your PC/NPC had to be covered in cooking oil, what kind of oil would they prefer?
This is a good question.
Gosh.
This is a very good question.
It's only a good question for you, Eiriol.
This is our fault.
Sesame, dibs on actually, no, I'm changing it to truffle because Toz
that's definitely truffle.
Rich.
Yes, that's such a good Toz vibe.
That's my answer.
Arbitrarily lavender because it's purple and I like the smell of lavender.
Ooh.
I mean, Rain has just got to be sunflower oil, surely.
Oh, yeah, that's cute.
See, this is a very good question, because I can't think of an answer, and I'm the one who came up with this stupid thing.
Surely Delphi is covered in chili oil.
No.
Is that not spicy?
No. Delphi. Wildly,
Tabasco.
the thing about Delphi is not spicy for the spicy forest. Like they're very bland in a weird way. Not like bland in the way that we would use it, but as in like they're not a spicy person.
Garlic oil?
Oh, garlic oil is a good shout. That is a good
Garlic
shout.
oil is a really good shout.
Yeah. It's also very tasty.
Yeah, I would say chili garlic oil would be a...
That's more me out of character, but
Because you're a spicy woman.
I don't find Delphi that spicy.
No, but she's
You are
from
the first
spicy
person.
forest.
I think it's relative spiciness, right? It's like
She's spicy to us, but not necessarily
Yeah.
to people in the spicy
Yeah.
forest.
Like garlic and some white people.
yeah, I think that's the thing. I think
I would
she
like
is
to
just
just-
garlic oil because
I think Felicity has chili oil vibes.
Yeah, I vibe with that.
I'm trying to think what Bastet would be. Because I think she'd be an interesting...
Sesame seed?
Something kind of dignified. Like,
Yeah,
she,
like,
she
what's-
got to be extra virgin
Oh, would she be
olive
like
oil.
the fancy extra virgin?
Extra
like the
virgin
Put on
olive
your
oil.
mozzarella-
that's so
mozzarella
good.
salady things.
I love it.
If I make a joke about how being the leader of Arrow Ace makes you extra virgin, will I get to
Yeah, that's the
I
joke.
was sat there thinking it and I didn't say it.
Oh. Which person would be like? Which person would be engine oil? Is the real question.
Oh god.
Kaylin
Kaylin
Clear.
Right,
Clear.
because she's an artificer?
Yeah, I was thinking like machine oil might be that.
engine oil? Yeah.
I think, yeah, probably one of the artificers.
Yeah.
Either Tamara or like
think it's
Glau
Kaylin.
Glau had some very comprehensive armor on. It was
But
that
Kaylin's
armor.
the big. Kaylin's
But Kaylin's
bigger,
the slimy guy.
Yeah, Kalen's the engine oil man.
Kaylin is just permanently greased with like margarine or something.
Oh, that's the worst.
Oh, Ellie.
Thank you, Nate, for this absolutely fantastic question. I think we're probably going to move off of Twitter questions now onto a couple questions from Daniel Newman. There's some very good questions. We've got in episode 21, we were told. Yeah, we were told that not all NPCs' names had meanings. What is Ellie's favourite meaningful name, and what do the tall girls' names mean?
I could answer what my tall girl.
I was going to say, yeah.
I looked up Scottish baby names and I picked the one that I liked.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I would like to say that correct me if I'm wrong, but at one point, wasn't Tosia's name just straight up going to be Nelly?
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yes, yeah.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was
Oh
gonna
my
happen.
God.
And then my boyfriend was like, "You can't do that," and I was like, "Yeah, you can't."
I'll call her Nelly the elephant.
I feel
Nelly
like
the
that
elephant
sounds like
is
he tells
a
me-
copyrighted property. We'll
Yeah.
get sued if we do that.
It sounds like he tells me what to do, but really, he's just 90% of my impulse control.
Yeah. It was needed.
that'd
It was
be
absolutely
fun.
needed.
Yeah. Fun for a one shot, maybe not for.
Several year-long series.
Yeah. Raina's name came about the same way that all of my PC's names come about, which is just me putting together random sounds and saying them out loud until I find one that sounds nice. That Raina is the name I've only ever heard. There was a character on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Raina is not based on that character at all, but I thought the name was nice. And then Riftwood kind of came from literally just from Driftwood. And I was like, that fits, and they sound nice together.
They do.
So we'll go with
Yeah,
that.
it does. I like the alliteration.
Delphi is I think we might have mentioned this. Delphi is short for Delphinium, which is the Latin name of a plant that's like very mildly poisonous.
Isn't it a foxglove? Am I
Yes, it is.
No, it's whatever was in the original trailer.
Yeah,
No, it's a larkspur.
Reference
Yeah.
it.
It's a larkspur.
No, that's it. Larkspur.
Larkspur.
Yes, that's the one. And that's because Delphi's real name is Moralta Calvine, and so it's the direct translation. All of the Growfoot people are named after various plants, and because all the plants in the spicy forest are poisonous, all of the names are named after poisonous plants. And so I have a long list of Growfolk names that is just like the plan what the name is, because it's some variation on that, because like you can't call someone like Pop. Well, you can call someone Poppy. You can't call someone like
That was a bad example.
I can only think of like actual names now, but like
You can't call someone Carrot.
yeah, you can't call someone Carrot. I mean, you can.
Potato, though, because potatoes are poisonous before they're cooked.
Yeah, like it's that kind of thing. You can't call them weird names because it does just stand out a bit too much, and so you just like use a variation on that.
I do know of a fictional character called Carrot now that you say
Yeah, no,
that.
Carrot.
yeah, from,
Carrot.
um,
So do I.
But I think like,
Captain-
but the
Captain
thing is,
We're all
Carrot
thinking of the same character.
it's the thing.
Are we all
of,
thinking
like,
of Captain Carrot from the
From
Discworld
Discworld,
series?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Really?
I'm thinking of a Dungeon Run character.
Of course you are.
But it's like
Anyway,
the thing of like
as an example, Exhibit A of how Eiriol has put in so much work into growth.
Genuinely. Genuinely.
But,
Yeah,
so
Chloe and I are just like, we liked the name.
but it's like potato. If someone was named after a potato, they would have the grow folk name, and then they have the name that they used in common, which would be like Pots or something like that, which like a variation on potato, so it's
Yes.
not as weird. Which is what like Delphinium is. But like you could call them Lark, and that would also be their name. It's just they chose Delphinium or Delphi.
Like a
Yeah.
nickname.
And
Nice.
that's just based on the fact that like that's what real people in real life do when their names work like that. Yeah.
Delphi's
That
a good
reminds me,
name.
Yeah.
That reminds me actually of when I was looking at Raina's name, because according to like D&D lore, Tabaxi used names like I'm trying to think of an example.
Thurston the Quiver.
I ran a long
things like rivers and mountains and like
Yeah, I ran a long 2-year campaign, and we had a Tabaxi in our party who was called Quill in the Grass.
Yes.
yeah,
No,
that
so
sort of thing.
their dad was called Quill in the Grass, and they were called Ridge on the Mountain.
Yeah, and I looked at that and I was like, no.
There's something in that for a podcast of all white people. There's something a bit sort of appropriative of indigenous culture there, in terms of like how indigenous Native American names are often translated.
Exactly. I was like, I
So
don't
that's
want
fair.
to pick one of these when I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
never.
that's
I
fair.
did never had that association, but
At least
yeah,
not
it's
without a whole
very-
bunch of research that's maybe not that otherwise
Yeah.
relevant for the Tabaxi. But
Katie?
But anyway, I interrupted. Carry on.
so for Morgan's name, I honestly I just had Morgan in my back pocket as a name I liked and wanted to use. I'd toyed with it as a name for a different character in a funnily enough in the LARP campaign, and then discarded it. But I ended up calling them Matia, for those who are familiar with them. I can't remember any pronouns ever again. But anyway, yeah, with Morgan, I was just like, oh, time to dust out the Morgan name. And I just liked it. And then I wanted a posh people sounding, English sounding name for surname, and I ended up going with Aldridge. I can't remember why. It just sounded neat to me. And then I just, like I mentioned, I had a long list of virtue names I wanted to put in as a middle name for just vibes. She was nearly called Morgan Clemency Aldridge.
Oh my god.
I think Serenity works well. It's got a good rhythm.
Yes, it does.
It's got overall.
Anyway,
I once had a tiefling who was named frequently writes to her parents.
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, the
That's the
like
worst virtue
the oldie
name.
Puritan and Quaker names. There's some great horrible.
You
names
gotta
in there.
really lean into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should have just gone full out with a ridiculous name, but I didn't in the end.
I think Morgan Serenity works.
Yeah, I
Morgan
like it.
Morgan works. I've got all sorts of ideas for when she uses which of her three names when, and when she's dusting out a family name versus her virtue name and stuff. She probably
Yeah.
chooses Morgan Serenity, not as Aldridge.
I think I'm gonna answer this with two answers. One kind of deliberately ignoring the question, and one genuinely answering the question. Because I think the conversation about names came up when I was talking about Vega Camarius.
Yes.
I believe, and I think that has a good indicator of like of most of my naming process, the vast majority of my naming process, which is like I said, mouthfeel. But Vega, I think. Vega, I wanted to have like a name that kind of sounded a little bit like Vegas. And Vega's kind of what I hit upon. And then Camarius is much more random. I was just kind of trying to find something that fit. But if you want to get like real English lit about it, he is probably from Navrosh, which is like the elf kind of area, which isn't far from Antibra, which we've kind of established has kind of Amsterdam/Mediterranean vibe. Two completely different clashing things, I know, but you know. And so I kind of wanted to, in the opposite sense of Aldridge has like an old English feel to it. I wanted to have something that was deliberately not old English to give it almost, and this is going to sound like weird, but like almost like a nouveau riche type vibe. And like,
No, I totally get that.
do you know what I mean? Like, not to say, oh yeah, I got a non-English name because that means nouveau riche, but I guess from like, I was thinking about it from the perspective of like, what would snotty elves find distasteful? And I was like, that kind of feels like the correct vibe. And then
It sounds a bit like something designed to sound Latin. But not
yes,
actually be
exactly.
Latin.
It has kind of an air of like fakeness and showiness about it. And then a name that is genuinely quite well thought out actually is Felicity Keats. Because
Felicity about like truth and stuff.
No, it means luck.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's
luck,
also
sorry.
it's also got connotations of kind of what's the word? Not being upbeat. What's the other meaning of it?
Optimistic?
Yeah, like high energy.
Felicity Keats does sound. It has that
Yeah.
vibe, doesn't it?
Thank you. Yes, felicity means intense happiness.
Cool.
So I was like
didn't
going
know
for
that.
that kind of so it was going for that kind of intense happiness, that kind of stuff. And then Keats is a reference to the very, very first origins of the idea of behind this murder mystery, which is a John Keats poem.
Yes.
And I would
I knew
love
you were going to say that.
I would
The minute
love
I
to
heard Felicity Keats, I was like, she's named after the poet. I know it.
I
just
would
know it.
I would love to give Am like one guess as to what it could possibly be, but I don't think you'll get it because it's changed so massively from the origin point.
Can I Google John Keats poetry and just look at the titles as a thing? Because I'm really not. I'm outing myself as a Byron girl.
Okay, no, that's. I mean, I said it because of the English lit thing, but like,
Is it Grecian urn
No, but
or
very
Nightingale?
very similar vibe to Grecian urn. It's
Yeah.
the pot of basil.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Grecian urn
Which-
was like my immediate guess.
Which the original story is about this pair of lovers who like can't be together because the woman is like super rich and has two super rich, very capitalist brothers, and the guy is poor, and so the brothers go and then murder the guy, bury him, and I think chop off his head. And then, I might be misquoting this. English lit nerds who are listening, I apologise for potentially misremembering this poem. But she then, the woman then goes, gets a dream where she gets told where the body is, goes, finds it, brings the head back with her and puts it in a pot of basil and basically like tends to the basil with her tears and kind of goes slowly insane. So as you can see, very tenuous links
I
to
can
what's
kind of
going
see,
on.
like, with the two brothers and with the like
With the basil.
keeping
oil.
the head around in a kind of creepy place.
Yeah.
With
That was the-
food
yeah.
substances.
That was that
That wasn't
kind of
Felicity's fault.
no, that was much more Delphi's doing. But yeah, that's that's my favorite little Easter egg. Okay, but yeah, do y'all still want to do your questions?
Sure.
Are you?
Yes, please.
I'm okay
I don't
not
wanna go
submitting
too-
a question because I can't really think of one that isn't that is actually necessary. Just ones that are like
No, that's cool.
time fillers.
Okay. yeah, does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
I don't know if you guys know this. I have another podcast.
What?
What?
No!
Surprise!
God.
In it, we play either chosen. Our characters are all either the children of a god from mythology, or they're chosen by that god for various reasons. And my question is, if your character was like in the Scion system, if they were chosen by a god or their parent was a god, what would it be? And like, you can use real world deities, you can use deities in our world, which doesn't have a name. Whatever you like.
So
And then Ellie, you can just pick an NPC.
I will preface this of this has happened. I'm playing a warlock.
Delphi is chosen of a deity, like canonically.
Yeah.
Okay, then
yeah.
they do real
God.
world deities best.
You could. I was gonna say you could if you wanna do a reveal, but if you don't want to do a reveal, Eiriol, that's equally.
No, I'll leave it. It's
valuable.
too
Or
close
maybe
to
it's a
home, I think.
god named Delphinium.
No, that's just Delphi's name. Delphinium's name. You're thinking of Delphire.
Oh, Delphia, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Delphi. Yeah.
That was completely by accident, by the way. I
love
genuinely
that.
didn't think of that.
Oh my god! This entire time, I've been like, "Wow, a bit on the nose, Eiriol."
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I was just
And
like,
I-
oh my god, why did I give them the same name? Because I gave Delphi.
It's the fact because you came up with the name for the
Yeah, I came up with the name of the deity, and then I came up
Delphi.
with the name for Delphi, and it completely. I think I did realise pretty early on I could have changed it, but I was like, oh, it's fine, And then I was like,
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I say it's a spoiler. It's not a spoiler to the people who are listening, I don't think, because there was like a little.
yeah, but we don't know
hint of it,
specifics
but
about the god.
you
yet
don't know
in the-
specifics,
Yeah.
so.
I do out
Yeah,
of
we'll keep
character, but I'm trying to. I can't think of any real gods, real world gods that they.
All of my like mythology knowledge is like what I've gleaned from random sources about Greek and Norse mythology, which
Be
is
honest, it's
none
the
of
Percy Jackson series.
it. No, actually,
No?
I've been playing Hades
Yeah,
a lot.
it's that.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It's probably that.
Yes.
But I don't have any like proper knowledge of any kind of mythology that's not Christianity. So.
I mean,
You could,
Christian.
hey, in Scion, Christian like myths and legends are also real, so you could just straight up pick one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't like most of those people.
fair.
Oof.
There's some wild stuff in Christianity.
No answers to Am's question. No answers.
Someone else go while I think.
Yeah.
I.
Who would Toz be
obvious
at?
answer with Morgan is any one of the like many knowledge and truth and learning gods, or like in the universe, she is a fan of Calacta, who I did not design as a god, but just ended up being a god who happened to be like perfectly on the nose for her, which is a god of truth and time, learning things and the things she's studying. So like obvious answer would be like Athena, but or maybe Hermes.
That's so interesting because I would also pick Athena for Toz.
Oh yeah, well Toz and Morgan do have similar vibes in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would also maybe pick King Arthur because they're a like legend in for Toz in like the Scion universe. So like Robin Hood and like the Morrigan and Cuchulainn and stuff are all like, if they're like a legend, like Johnny Appleseed for America, they're all like legitimate, like powerful, godly beings, which I think is very neat.
I don't really know enough about mythology is the issue. I don't know enough about
D'Artagnan
Look,
is one in Scion.
the ones that you can always do is just choose what the god is of, and then there's a Roman god
Yeah.
that does that, because there's a Roman god for every single possible thing you can think of.
Yeah.
Now that you said Robin Hood, I can't get it out of my head, and I think that's Raina's
That's
answer.
actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am trying to think. My knowledge of gods is like super limited, and also my just absolutely rampant Welsh nationalism It's just making me want to like pigeonhole somebody into a Welsh deity, but I don't think it would work.
Morgan's
except for
that dragon,
like
the dragon that fights the other dragon under the mountain.
oh yes,
I don't know enough about. I can't remember enough about that story, but
I mean, it's just that the
Arbitrary.
dragon's Welsh. That's the big thing about it.
that's the big thing about it is that the dragon is Welsh. Yeah, I think there's.
I'm not good enough at being Welsh.
I'm trying to remember. Actually, to be fair, there's. I think there's. Am I right in thinking it's Nisian and Efnisian? Yeah. Nisian and Efnisian are like twins. They're not gods, but they are myths. So I think it would apply.
They'd count.
And one of them's like good, and one of them's like kind of trickstery and a bit like evil and sus and big on revenge. And I feel like that's a good vibe for the Chiron brothers. Also, Tamara would absolutely be like something like Hermes, like god of travelers.
Very cool.
I'm now thinking about Poseidon for Raina, and I don't know which is better.
Oh no, I think Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I think Robin
Robin
Hood.
Hood's better. I think probably like a Anne Bonny or something, even though she's a pirate, would be good for Raina.
Oh my
she's a
gosh, that would
pirate,
be
though.
real funny. That would be real funny. She'd be like, "Oh my god, not a pirate!"
No.
Yeah, I think it is the way thing though. If like in real life, pirates were like predominant. There was a weird thing about pirates. Of some of them were really awful people, and then some of them were just like queer people.
Fine. Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah, sure, they're robbing, but they're like also just robbing from the British Empire, which is not a bad thing.
Everyone wants black sails.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
For Eiriol and Katie, if you were gonna run a different game for us on Doma, like Am has, what would it be?
Eiriol's
And
already
then
done
for Am
that.
and
No, but a
yeah,
different.
yeah, but it's still
Different-
D&D.
Oh, different system.
Yeah.
And for Am and Ellie, like if you were going to do another
Let's
one,
get
what
my
would it be?
list of systems.
I don't know that many.
Oh, I know exactly what I want to do.
I don't know
Which
that
is-
many. Sorry, you go.
Oh, I really want to do Dread. It's really hard because you need to play it in person, because if you've never played Dread before, the storyteller gives all their players 20 questions to sort of set up what their character is, because there are no stats in Dread, which is like, I know I'm an incredibly crunchy like melee person, but I love this game so much. And every time you want to do an action that's challenging, you have to pull from the tower, and the storyteller can ask you to like do 2 or 3 bricks depending on how difficult it is. If you want to succeed on an action, like an automatic success, you can choose to knock over the tower, and then your character will become if the tower gets knocked over, whether through a pull or you purposefully knocking it over, your character becomes incapacitated. But if you knock it over on purpose, then you succeed on what you were trying to do immediately, and then you become incapacitated. It's a really good system. I've played it on Halloween before, and it's like so tension fueled. It's a really good time. It's a horror game. I love it so much, and I would really love to run it for everyone.
I don't know that many systems that I actually know very well. I would like to shout out that Penguin King Games has a game called Jellyfish Felonies, which is about jellyfish committing crimes.
Yes. Incredible.
Be amorphous, do crime.
Yeah, honestly, this is opening a rabbit hole, so I'm just going to start listing off various things that so there's some of them that we can't do podcast wise. So like Discord server has Ghost in it is a wonderful RPG, but you cannot do podcast wise because half of the people aren't speaking. Stewpot is definitely one of them. I talked about that before.
Yes.
I really want to play a game called ECU, or Eldritch Care Unit, which is a medical drama but set around like occult. So you're like a branch off from the normal hospital that deals with all the occult illnesses, but it's just set up as a medical drama. There's an RPG based off the Sunless Skies game called Skyfarer. It's very like cosmic horror-y. It's set in this world where London has fallen beneath the ground, and you are in the skies above this like weird place where all this weird stuff happens, and like you're piloting a train airship kind of thing. But like it's all really dark. One of like the key things is that the RPG starts because your captain has disappeared, been replaced by a duplicate, or like has just gone mad and is locked themselves in a cupboard, and like there are others, but I'm going to leave it there because I will just speak forever about all the different RPGs I want to play.
I think there's like what I want, not what I want to do versus what I will do, but like I know that a Monster of the Week one shot in this universe would work real well. And I like already think like I'd love to hand that over to somebody else to DM or GM, but like if no one was interested, then I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
I'd also love to play Masks. Like
it's so good. Please
y'all
run Masks.
on cast many things. Y'all seem to have like a real great time.
Yeah.
Also, there's I think they're still doing their Kickstarter. There's a system called Zin Never Dies, which I really want to play. The art style is really cool. You have ideologies and gods and that kind of stuff, and Zin is like the magic. It's like a D20 and D12 based system. It's got some stuff that's sort of similar to D&D, but then and it just looks really fun and cool and cute, and like the world is very interesting, and I'd love to play it at some point.
I'm also going to list off 3 more because I remember them and they're too good. There's Ryutama, that's very good and is like D&D but cutesy and more about travelling. And then there's I can't remember the name of it, about teenagers who are also like werewolves and vampires and stuff, and it's really
Bite Marks.
No, it's Apocalypse World system.
Heart. It's like something in Hearts or something. They played it on the Critical Role channel.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. It's really, really good.
Monster Hearts?
Monster Hearts, that's the one,
and then also another Apocalypse World one that I can't remember the name of, but it's a space one. It's very heavily inspired by like Firefly and that kind of stuff, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's really good. And like Star Wars, it's like grunge space rather than fancy space, if that makes any sense to anyone.
Anyone else got
Chloe, what would you do?
My first answer was going to be Monster of the Week, but Ellie's already taken that on.
Sorry.
But I think it would be tricky to do in our universe because it has a bunch of like predetermined settings, but I would love to play Fiasco with you all.
Ooh.
Because it's just insane. It's basically that everyone is just terrible people and makes bad decisions and stuff, and you have like a dice pool, and from the dice pool you have to like allocate specific numbers to make your characters and to make like your relationships between the different characters and stuff. So it's kind of like almost like procedurally generated characters in a way. That was a bad analogy, but still. And it's the idea of having one where it's like you're not the heroes, like anything can happen, and it's entirely like it's supposed to be like a sort of film kind of thing. So you do scenes and you make this like film, and it's all completely role play after that. There's no like roles or anything, and then depending on like votes from the other players can determine like whether the scene goes well for you or not. And it's completely different to anything I've ever played, and I just think it would be really fun.
Also, Scum and Billy was the name of the space one.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, I think we have time for like one more question at most. I don't have a question for y'all, mostly because I anticipated this was going to happen.
I have one more question, if no one else does.
I was just going to ask like what people's favourite classes to play are, but I think we might have covered it.
Yeah. I was going to say, does everyone have fun, and do we appreciate and love Ellie?
No.
Yes.
The answer's yes.
No, we despise
Ariel gave the correct answer.
all along.
Yeah, this is all a very long-standing prank that we're playing on Ellie.
Oh my god.
Surprise! Get dunked on.
Yeah, we're just gaslighting Ellie over several years.
Oh my
truth,
god.
though, like any time that any of us like do anything for the podcast, anything at all, even just like turn up, Ellie's like, but I have to compensate you. You're giving up your time and you're doing all this, and we're like, but Ellie, we enjoy it. We're doing this because we want to, and she doesn't believe
Ellie
us.
tries to pay us, and we're like, Ellie, no, stop.
Listen, I have worked with some difficult people in the past. I'll just say that much.
I think generally the big thing for us is that it's like it's the thing of it's also our project, and so we're happy putting the work into it. That you are putting into it as our wonderful GM, and also the main editor for it, which is a lot.
She's basically production manager.
Yeah.
Like
you do a huge amount, and we're very happy putting in the work.
Yeah.
We
Aw.
love you.
I love you too. This is
I am about to pass out from
unnecessarily
sleepiness, you guys.
adorable.
Fair.
Just before you go, I have looked on our downloads for today, and although I don't think Acast has caught up yet, because it's still got a slightly lower number, I think I can say with relative security that we have just passed 3,000 downloads.
Oh wow, baby!
Did it.
Okay, thank you all
many
so much.
downloads.
That's so many downloads.
Should we stop recording now?
Yeah.
Wait. I'd just like to say to everybody to everybody listening, thank you so much for all of the support that you have given us over the last year. It means
you,
an awful
everyone.
lot. Thank you for the amazing questions. I'm sorry if we didn't get to everybody's questions, but this is coming up to 2 hours.
Next
Yeah,
time
thank
we'll do
you.
a
Have this many-
4-hour recording
Well, we've really
session.
just been talking a lot, haven't we?
I thank you all so much, and we really appreciate it. And yeah, however you have supported us, if you've left us a review, if you've donated to our Acast supporter link, if you listen to us, if you interact with us on Twitter, if you shout at us in the RWD Discord,
Oh, I thought you were
we
going to say in the
love you.
street, like if you just come up to us and shout at us.
Please don't yell at me in the street. I am fragile. Yeah, any way that you support us, it means the world to us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us
Yeah, baby.
this year. Here's to all the exciting things next year will bring.
Yeah.
Woo! Woo! Okay, we will see you soon. Have an ace week. Deck of Many Aces is Am Chisholm, Chloe Elliott, Eiriol Evans, Katie McLeod, and me, Ellie Webster. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Deck of Many Aces, and tweet at us with the hashtag DOMA. That's DOMA.